Okay. So, do you have anything to add to that? Do either of you have anything to add at this point? Because let me tell you where I think we are right now. We spent a lot of time getting your stories on the table and really understanding where both of you are coming from. And I mean, the two of you share so much history that it's obvious that we're only sensing here the tip of the iceberg. And I know that me coming from outside, I know that I'm only seeing a small part of your lives, and I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I never take that for granted. It also sounds to me as if having listened to you thus far and trying to get a sense for what is important to you and what both of you seem to want to talk about. So it seems to me as if the major issues, or at least some of the major issues we need to talk about, are as follows. And let me suggest a list of topics, and I'll see whether you kind of nod or not, and if you like, maybe later on we can write them up on the board and deal with them one by one. I'm hearing you both say that in general you've both agreed to this separation and to this divorce. If we need to talk any further about that, then we can talk. Well, I see that you're both nodding, so I'm just going to assume perhaps that that's a topic that has been resolved. The process of how exactly we do it might be an issue. Another issue that you've raised is parenting. Both of you have said that you want to make sure that you get, well, all the time you can with the kids, and you've also both voiced the fact that you acknowledge that you're either willing or eager for the other parent to play a very substantial role in the children's lives. What exactly will that look like? How do you go about doing it? Well, that's a topic to decide. We're going to need to map out exactly what that will look like. At what points are each of you with the children? At what points are you responsible for the children? And how do you manage conversations about those issues between the two of you is a separate issue of parenting. Then there's the topic that you've both mentioned of assets, of both property and debts. At a divorce point, all these things come to a point, and we need to figure out how to separate and how to divide up and share responsibility for both property and debt. And you've told me that you have a house, you have pension plans, you have a couple of cars, and a few specific items that you've mentioned. So that's another issue in its own. And you've also mentioned a final issue which you're going to need to decide and tell me whether you want to make that an issue that's discussed here. You've mentioned, the both of you have mentioned an issue of care for your mother. And I wanted to explore whether that's an issue that we need to decide on here in this process, or whether it's something that you will both work out either on your own or together afterwards. It might be an issue to explore, and you'll tell me. So those are the issues that I've identified this far. If I see both of you are generally nodding, how about if I write those all up on the board, and we'll go through them one by one and try and get a picture for what your real interests are in all of those issues, and where your natural meeting points are, and also where the unclear or vague or maybe even clashing points are, and what we need to help you guys work out. Does that sound like a plan? Good. I'll go write them on the board then.